Everybody. So it seems like there are people all over the world that are settling for peanuts, at least according to former African Union ambassador to the United States, Arikana Chihombori-Quao. She says that the United States has only meddled on the African continent through its USAID funding, and it's high time that they stop the meddling so that Africans can stop settling for peanuts. And I think this sentiment is true for many Americans. Less reliance on government aid and more self-empowerment. My name is Monica Maybank, and this is the Holy Politician Podcast. On this podcast, we discuss politics, policy, and culture through the lens of truth and holiness. If you haven't subscribed, I'd encourage you to do that now. Just click that button. It takes a few seconds and share this podcast with three of your closest friends. I recently came across an Al Jazeera interview that really struck a nerve with me. It was one of the most profound things that I've seen in a while, and it really reminds me of just how ignorant many of us are, me included, of the impact that the United States has on other nations. The degree to which we fund other nations even significantly impacts our influence on them. And so, in an interview that I'm getting ready to show you, the former African Union ambassador to the US says unequivocally that the United States' major agenda is to destabilize countries through its aid. And so she characterizes USAID as a wolf in sheep's clothing, suggesting that despite its humanitarian facade, USAID has played a role in destabilizing African governments. Dr. Chihombori-Quao asserts that many African leaders, as well as leaders in other developing regions, view the departure of USAID from their countries as a positive development. She emphasizes the need for Africa to move beyond being pawns in global politics to becoming real players by harnessing their local resources, their homegrown solutions, and collaborating across the diaspora to lead with their own vision. And so, as many of you know, USAID, which is a US agency, was essentially gutted in February and merged with the Department of the State. Over 1,000 employees were laid off. In addition to that, nearly $8 billion in aid was eliminated from funding at least 130 nations directly, according to reports. And so the continent of Africa saw a tremendous hit. According to the Africa Report, Ethiopia will lose $387 million. South Africa will lose 260 million. Nigeria will lose 178 million, and Egypt will lose 170 million. But there are other nations, at least 20 African nations, that will lose direct funding. But according to Chihombori-Quao, this means liberation for Africa.
Let's look at what HIV/AIDS was used to do. We know of a program that was run out of South Africa where they actually were injecting people with the virus. The reason some of the AIDS virus spread as rapidly as it did in Southern Africa, there were some very dirty games being played on African people. They were using Africans as guinea pigs for experimental activities. Even when you look at every aspect, they're using us as guinea pigs. Yes, there is some good, a percentage of some good, but not all of it is done with good intentions. You look at agriculture, they're destroying African agriculture by introducing those GMOs. You plant your seed in one season, your soil is finished. We used to have seeds that we can use from one season to the other. The introduction of GMOs through these agencies, USAID is one of them. We are destroying Africa in a massive way. A little good is coming out, but by and large, the end result, they mean no good. They can turn around and give us an inventory and say, as long as you have been in Africa and also other parts of the world, show us your success rate. You claim you're helping governments with education and healthcare. Show us your success rate.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, her inquiry is a valid inquiry. What is the success rate? And I'm not here to make a judgment or provide any data on the success rate of these programs on the continent of Africa. You can search your own USAID reports. You can go to the Congressional Research Service and see if you can find data and information on this. But the point she's raising is where are the results from all of this American influence? Has the carrot and the stick approach really worked for Africans, or has it made life worse off for them and the entire continent? We know that Africa has been used for perpetual plunder and experimentation, as she talked about. Nations have plundered its people, which is its greatest resource, right? They've plundered its minerals, agriculture, they've plundered intellectual property, inventions, ingenuity, the list goes on and on and on. And so they don't necessarily want anyone to rescue them. And yet there are rescuers kind of flocking in from all over the globe trying to rescue and save Africa. But one important point to raise, and Chihombori-Quao raises this point, is African leaders must lead, right? And so this is what she had to say about that.
Let me tell you, we need to look at what's happening in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. President Traore is standing up. He is saying the natural resources in Burkina Faso, they belong to the people of Burkina Faso. Niger is doing the same thing. Mali is doing the same thing. Every leader must look at what's happening in the Sahel nations to say, like anybody else, you must take care of your people. You have your natural resources. You have everything you need to take care of your people. Why do you continue to be beggars? Look at what is being brought in by not only USAID, but all the NGOs in your country. It's peanuts. It's a joke that the African leaders should continue to be beggars of peanuts when you are looking and allowing billions to get out of your country year in and year out, if not trillions, in natural resources that your people should be benefiting from. It is a wake-up call for African leaders to wake up and say, President Trump is saying, US first, America first. You too must say, your country first, because you have everything it takes. It is a joke. It is embarrassing.
So I love when she said, you have everything you need. Why do you continue to be beggars? I mean, God has given us everything we need that pertains to life and godliness. And there's so many lessons that we can learn just as individuals who are leading our households, we're taking care of our families, employees in the workplace, or people that God has given a call or an assignment to be entrepreneurs. You have everything you need. God has given us everything that we need. It doesn't require us to exploit ourselves, or in the case of Africa, to exploit its children across generations. And so let's pray for Africa that they have the leadership necessary for a sustainable vision for the entire continent, one that promotes self-sufficiency and self-reliance, being the lender and not the borrower, and then reversing the curse of corruption and spiritual practices that might be plaguing that nation, right? If Africa is the region where life began, you better believe that God provided every resource necessary for sustenance across the generations in that beloved continent. And so you can catch the nearly 30-minute interview, I think it was, on Al Jazeera that I just showed you a few clips, but you can go and catch the whole thing on YouTube. It's powerful stuff. Take a listen and continue to educate yourself on the impact that America truly is having globally. We know that America has been a dominating force in global geopolitics, everything concerning any industry, economics, policy of any kind. America has had an outsized influence. But truly, the question remains, where are the results? And are we proud of those results? So God bless you. I appreciate you tuning in. And until we meet again, take care.